What's up, my way past Brew Crew? It's me, Sonic the Hedgehog, and welcome back to another reaction video. Today, we're reacting to Mr. Nightmare 5 Disturbing True Home Alone Stories. Yeah, I've actually wanted to react to this for, these videos for a while. I'm going to be making this into a series as well. Yeah, but I'll explain, the context after the video because I've been waiting to record this all day, and I want to get right into this. Let's go! So yeah, these are just horror stories that he narrates, just in case you couldn't tell.
I'm 30 years old, and I share a house with my sister. It's a 2-floor house, a mother-daughter house, meaning it has 2 kitchens. My sister takes the downstairs, I take the upstairs. My sister isn't home a lot because she often stays with her boyfriend who lives 20 miles away. Like I said, I'm 30. I shouldn't let being home alone ever freak me out. But, admittedly, sometimes it does. This happened on a night that I was home alone in my living room watching a scary movie.
What scary movie?
My part of the house is an open layout, so the living room, dining room, and kitchen are all one big space. My couch is in the middle of the space, so as I watch TV on the couch, my back is to a large part of the room behind me. So for those a little more easily spooked, it wouldn't be the most comfortable place to be sitting alone watching a scary movie. Why not watching in your room like a normal person would? I'll admit, as I watched in the dark room with nothing but the light from the TV to cancel the darkness of the room, I found myself glancing over my shoulder a lot. I like to think I'm not the only 30-year-old male that does that. But anyway, after the movie, I brushed my teeth, turned off all the lights in the house, then went to sleep. My sleep lasted for about 2 hours. I woke up around 1 a.m., and I wasn't sure why I woke up at first. Then I heard a voice downstairs. I'm quite a heavy sleeper, I don't usually wake up in the middle of the night. It sounded like my sister. It sounded like she was inside the house, so it's not like she was calling for me to open the door. But
Get
still,
up!
I knew it was my sister's voice. I didn't know what she was yelling up to me though, but I was still groggy. Get you out of bed and let me in the house. All I could think was that she must have been calling for me, or arguing with her boyfriend.
I like these images that he puts in.
I got out of bed and went into the pitch black hall. I turned on the hallway lights and then made my way through the living room and heard my sister's voice again from downstairs. Now I could understand her to be saying my name. I made my way downstairs in the dark, yelling back at her, "What is it?" I looked for the light switch in the foyer downstairs, but couldn't find it. I'm not lying when I say I was groggy as hell.
I walked
down her little hallway towards her kitchen, find a light switch, and flick it on. The light in the kitchen lights up her little apartment, including her living room. The light starts off dim and needs time to brighten up, but I still saw that there was no one down there. Not her, not her boyfriend. I went to her bedroom, but it was empty. I called her name really loudly one time. No one called back. But shortly after I yelled, I heard something drop to the floor in my sister's bedroom, which I had just checked and it was empty. I went back up the stairs like a little kid and went back to my bed to where my phone was. I tried to call her a few times, but she didn't pick up. I had myself locked in my room, wondering if I had just hallucinated all of that. Eventually I fell asleep, and in the morning I woke up to text from my sister asking why I called her at 1 a.m. I asked her if she was home last night, and she told me no, she was currently staying at her boyfriend's house. I went downstairs to her bedroom to see what may have fallen down on the floor, but there was not a single object on the floor that could have made that noise.
Paranormal stuff.
I'm led to believe I hallucinated everything I heard that night, but that's what I want to believe, because the alternative would be much more horrific.
Definitely,
I've never really hallucinated anything else, or had any kind of sleep disorders, so how vividly I heard my sister's voice, and that sound in her room, really freaks me out.
But you would never know the answer to that, would you? Was it just hallucination or... Bloody hell. Alright, next story. Is there 5? Yeah, there is.
I was left home alone a lot as a kid, just due to the fact that my mom was single for a good chunk of my upbringing, and she worked as an RN on a crappy RN schedule, and my brother went away to college. This was a night that my mom was working an overnight. It was a weekend night, so I had this girl Molly over who I was talking to, and she hung out for a while. We watched a couple movies and whatnot, and eventually she had to go home because her parents don't like her out late.
Fair enough.
So I was left alone to hold down the fort. I continued to watch TV in my room and bed. My bedroom is upstairs next to the backyard, so when someone dragged one of the chairs on the deck outside, I heard it. I got up and looked out the window, and I saw someone sitting on one of the deck chairs down below. I called Molly's name thinking it was her. After all, she'd only left under 10 minutes ago. Whoever it was looked up at me, but it wasn't Molly.
Oh yeah, because she left under 10 minutes ago, she might be here. She could be home by
It was
now.
not anybody I recognized. Not in the darkness, at least. I texted a few close friends in our group chat if it was one of them messing with me. The ones who answered all said no, and asked what I was talking about. I didn't really believe any of my friends would come to my house to mess with me like that anyway.
Probably.
Scared
Tell Knuckles do
shitless,
that
but still
today.
curious, I slowly walked back over to the window to look down again, and that person was still sitting in the chair, looking up at my window. It was a he, that much was clear, and he definitely saw me. I hurried away from the window again to turn off the TV. I sat in my bed in a ball basically, with my arms wrapped around my knees. I waited in darkness for a while. I didn't even want to turn my phone screen on because I was scared he'd see the light. I didn't even want to move because the window was opened and I feared that he'd hear any movement I made. I wanted him to assume I was just no longer in the bedroom. I waited enough time. It had to be a solid 5 minutes of just sitting there. I highly doubted that man outside could still be there. I finally mustered up the courage to get up and look out the window. I felt a little part of me die inside.
He's still there, isn't he?
When I saw he was still down there, looking up at my window. Instead of running away from the
Be
window
like,
again,
"Hey!"
I tried to be brave and said down to him, "What do you want?" I then
Okay,
noticed his
okay.
shoulders started to
Get
go up and down as if he were laughing really hard, but he didn't make any kind of audible laughing sounds at first, till I heard a slight whistling sound coming from him. It seemed like he was laughing so hard that he was wheezing. I asked him to please go away, then walked away from the window again. I went back to my bed. I was scared to call the police for some reason. I left my room and sat at the top of the stairway listening. The back door was being pushed. He was trying to get into the house.
FBI, open up!
I ran back to my room to hide again. I was 14, I didn't know what else to do. Eventually I heard the front door's doorknob being fiddled with, and the man trying to push the front door open as well. He gave up quickly, thank God. I closed my bedroom window and curtains. If our doors weren't locked, I could have been killed easily. I was skinny and weak when I was 14, and definitely not a fighter. I didn't leave my room again that night, until my mom got home around 9. I told her what happened, and her reaction was angry at me for not calling 911.
What the frick?
In hindsight, that was very stupid of me.
Wait, back up just one sec. So basically, you're telling me that the mother got angry because the son didn't call the police? What the frick? Basically, if that happened to, like, my son or daughter, like, I'm not saying I have one, but future, and then this happened, I'll be like, I'll sympathise with them, because you don't know what they've been through. But no, this mother will be like, you didn't call police? But seriously, yeah, seriously, why would you just scold the kid after what you just went through? Yeah, I am doing some screen record, just in case you didn't know.
One of the many things I did,
Because this is the only way I
or
could
rather
do it, but I'll
didn't
explain
do at
more
a
at
young
the end.
age, that I question greatly.
Oh, adverts, go away, go away, go away. I hate adverts, man, so much.
This was the story of how I almost died as a young kid, home alone, and possibly the most intense night of my life with way too much going on. We're a family of 5. I was 10 at the time. My older brother was 14, my little sister was 5. It was a Friday night. My brother was out with his friends causing trouble, clearly, because a dreaded phone call came to my parents. All I remember was I was in my room playing a Star Wars video game when I heard my mom start freaking out crying. I got really scared.
That's the
and
most
hurried to see
scariest
what
thing
was
about the
wrong.
story so far.
My mom was on the phone with the hospital, calling to inform my parents that my brother had gotten hit by a car.
Dude,
Obviously,
how the
we were
hell
all
did that
shaken
happen?
and really scared. My brother's leg was broken, but I don't know what else was said on the phone.
That's not
All
too
I know
bad,
is
is it?
my parents hurried
Yeah,
to get their coats
he broke
on
his
and
leg,
got
but
my
it could
little
be worse,
sister
it could
from
be
her
dead.
room and asked me if I was okay to stay home alone. I said yes, and they hurried out to the car and left.
Can't always say no, can you?
I was of course really worried for my brother, but I really didn't want to go to the hospital and see him in any kind of bad condition. I don't think my parents wanted me or my
that's
sister
fair
to
enough,
either,
I guess.
but they didn't want to leave my 5-year-old sister home without them. It's worth mentioning my brother recovered just fine, as his injury is no longer relevant to the story, other than it being the reason why I was left home alone on a Friday night. Before my dad left, he was trying to calm down my mom, telling her he was going to be okay.
Calm down, Mom.
So seeing my dad like that made me feel better. I had a
You could be a
feeling my mom was
cripple
just
for a
being
few
overdramatic like any mom would be. I continued playing the Star Wars game for a couple more hours.
What Star Wars
when I
game?
heard the front door open.
Is it
I had
Lego
my
Star
bedroom
Wars?
door
That is
closed.
my
By this
favourite
point, it was easily
Star Wars
past
game.
midnight and past my bedtime, so I turned off the TV and PlayStation and crawled into my bed with my Game Boy.
Game Boy!
I tried listening to hear my parents' voices, maybe hear if my brother was with them or just hear what they were saying, but I didn't hear anything. After a few minutes of not hearing them even come up the stairs, I had a feeling something was wrong. I went to my door and quietly opened it, then walked over to the ledge and banister that overlooked the living room. The lights were off, but there were 3 tall people standing in my living room.
What?
They weren't my family. I was so petrified that I was frozen for a second before I could quietly walk back into my room and shut the door as quietly as I could in my trepidation. But it wasn't quiet enough, and I knew
God.
it. They had to have heard the door click shut, even if just slightly.
Uh-oh.
I hurried to my closet door,
Uh-oh.
opened it quietly,
They're coming.
stepped inside, then shut the door. I had myself
Hide in the
sitting behind a
closet
bunch of the
and shut
boxes
up.
and bags of clothes that were stuffed in my closet. I was actually pretty covered from view. There was this short period that felt like forever that I was anticipating my bedroom door open, and it did.
Oh,
And
crap.
at that moment, I knew I was going to die.
Uh-oh,
I
uh-oh.
heard footsteps walk into the room. I couldn't tell how many people. It may have been 1, it may have been 2.
You said it was 3 a
The
second ago.
footsteps moved to my bed. Then I heard my covers being played with. Then silence. Then more footsteps towards the closet door.
Oh, crap.
Then silence for a few seconds. And then the closet door opened. My heart was in my throat by this point. All I did was sit quietly and hold my breath.
Oh,
The
God.
door was open for a really long time, but I didn't look up. I didn't move. It had to be a good 20 seconds of silence before the door closed again. Footsteps walked away from the door, then out of the room. I finally looked up, and I just realized, from where I was crouched down behind the bags and boxes, I may have been visible to that person.
Oh, crap.
It wasn't until probably an hour that I heard my parents return. I ran downstairs to them. The front door was left ajar by the people who broke in, and they had stolen a number of valuables from our house. It was a night that just went from bad to worse for our family. My parents were in such a rush when they left for the hospital that they apparently didn't even lock the door.
Oh, brilliant.
I was lucky to have not been killed or kidnapped. I look back now and really wonder if the person who opened the closet and just stood there for 20 seconds saw me hiding in there. Maybe he was just a guy that came to rob a house, not to kidnap or hurt a child. Or maybe he just didn't see me, and I just narrowly escaped death or injury.
Oh, my God. I can't believe the parents, man. They didn't lock the door. I suppose if you're in a rush, maybe you might forget, but you never forget to lock your door.
I was home alone for an entire week.
It's
one
not
time.
often that
I was
happens.
Still a teenager living with my parents, which was a rare occasion since my parents don't go out a lot. My mom's rich friend Patty invited my parents on a trip that she was paying for. I'm an only child, so I was left alone in the house. We lived in Newark, Ohio, which is in Licking
Ohio?
County. Yes, our county
Oh, I'd
was
say that
actually
name.
called Licking County. My parents' old house had woods in the backyard and was on some quiet road that only a few cars would pass per day usually. We had a huge deck in the backyard overlooking the woods, and a decently large backyard. We even had a little fish pond and above-ground swimming
Fishies!
pool. This was on a Thursday night. I remember because I had conversations with friends about plans for the weekend that day. This was in July of 2013. I was out on the deck smoking weed with my speaker
There's
playing
something
music.
now, actually.
That's about the time it started.
Nearly me.
I thought I heard a voice from out in the
Oh,
woods.
I just mentioned
I
that.
lowered the music and listened for a little bit. It didn't repeat, so I raised it back up. When the music was loud again, I heard a voice from out in the woods again. This time I turned the music off completely and listened for longer. There was a voice calling from the woods again, confirming I wasn't just hearing things. It was a male's voice, saying, "Hey, over here." It was kind of distant, but not too far. The woods were anywhere from 20 to 30 yards away from the deck, and that's where the voice was coming from. I didn't think in a million years it was someone calling out for me, though. Rather, maybe just some kids playing manhunt or something.
I don't like where this is
The
going.
voice called out again. "Hey, over here, we need help."
Hey,
This time I
bro.
realized the voice was too
Definitely
deep
not
to
gonna
be a
rob
kid.
you or kill you.
And when a voice yells out, "We need
There's
help,"
much more how these stories
obviously
go.
that'll always be
A guy
slightly
just
concerning. I
Posing
was
needed
getting
help.
a little bit uncomfortable now.
And then,
because now
they do
I
like
was
a full
questioning if
360.
these yells were directed at me.
So you can hear that as an
Now I
airplane
heard
going
the
above
voice
me
yell,
right now.
"Straight in front of you, please
Sorry
come
about
help
that.
us." And the voice was coming from straight in front of me in the woods.
Yeah, I just want to say, like, if any background noise makes it into this video or any other future Mr. Nightmare videos, I want to say I'm sorry about that, but I can't really control that. Funny enough, I've actually tried. Tells Knuckles to keep talking downstairs, and it's annoying. Shut up! But yeah, I just want to say, if there's any background noise in the future of these Mr. Nightmare videos, because I actually, like, these type of videos are different to the ones I've been doing since I started the channel, so yeah, you're just gonna have to bear with it, I guess. Sorry about that, though. But yeah, let's continue.
Now I had a feeling this was directed at me. I reluctantly called back, "Who is that?" And they responded, "We just need help, we're stuck in the woods."
Stop the
I
cap.
called back, "What does that mean?" And the voice replied back, "Just please come help, straight in front of you."
Help me!
I got out from my seat, walked down the steps of the deck onto the grass, and proceeded towards the woods. I called out, "I'm coming, where are you?" The voice replied instantly, "Right in front of you, I see you." I replied back, "Wait, are you alone or with someone?" There was no answer this time.
Uh-oh.
I stopped in my tracks about halfway towards the woods. I had a bad feeling in my gut about this.
Exactly.
I started walking backwards, back towards the house and the deck. I didn't even want to turn my back to the woods, because it took me that long to realize there was something very suspicious about this situation.
They were a bit sus.
I made it back to the deck, and the voice didn't say anything else. If they truly saw me and this was real, they would have said something like, "Where are you going?" at the very least. They knew I was onto the situation, but who even knows how many people were in there? Could have been one, could have been three. All I know is getting stuck in the woods makes absolutely no sense, especially if he or they were able to literally see me. Like what? Did their shirt get caught on a branch? I went inside the house and locked all the doors just to be safe. I chilled in my living room for a bit, still high, and I think that's why I was more trusting.
That's the most important thing about the story. He was high.
Because of how high and relaxed I was. Then, though, I heard the
really
voice again from outside,
getting high
closer now.
Relaxes you in this situation.
Definitely in the backyard and not the woods anymore. I heard splashing of water. It could have been the pool or the pond. I hurried to the window to see. I didn't see anyone at first, but then the voice called, "I see you," with a laugh. I noticed him.
Is it the Joker's laugh?
One guy, at least one guy visible. He was hidden behind the pool on the other side, and I could only see his head. It was just too dark to make out anything besides his dark, medium-length hair. I closed the blinds and tried to ignore it. Maybe he'd lose interest if he saw I wasn't entertaining him. He was probably a sick, deranged person who enjoyed messing with people, so I didn't want to give him what he wanted. But my breaking point was when there was a horrible, aggressive banging on the window where I had just closed the blinds. And on the other side, the guy was screaming help. I screamed at the top of my lungs to "Fuck off, you freak, the police are coming." I screamed it over and over, trying to make myself sound crazier than him.
It doesn't really matter.
I heard him start to laugh on the other side of the glass. His laughing started to fade away as I assume he walked away.
Good.
I sat back down on the couch, trembling, shaking, out of breath. I sat there for a while, and it seemed like the guy had really given up. I still got a good night's sleep that night because weed helps me sleep. I wonder if I would have handled that situation any differently if I wasn't high, though. The situation made me more paranoid about who I opened my door to.
Yeah, okay. Okay, so last story of this video. Let's do this.
I'm 23 years old, and I live at home with my parents still. One day they were both not home, and I was outside playing basketball in the front yard. At some point while I was playing, I looked up at one of our upstairs windows and saw a woman standing there. Not my mom, not my sister. It was a random woman.
Oh yeah!
I guess when she saw me looking at her, she dipped away from the window.
She dipped!
When I went inside and upstairs to check the lounge room, she wasn't anywhere. I checked every single room I could. Every bedroom, the bathroom, every closet. Then I checked the downstairs, which included the living room, kitchen, dining room, one bedroom, and more closets. Finally, I checked the basement, and I highly doubted she could be down there. It's a small basement with a couple couches, a bar, and 2 closets.
That's a good
There weren't many places for someone to hide. But when I opened the second closet door, I was incredibly scared, as I didn't know of any other places someone could be hiding in the house. This was the last unchecked spot that I could think of. I yanked the door open as if I were ripping off a band-aid, and like I did with the closet before this one, I right away pushed myself into the closet just in case that woman was in there and I'd have the jump on her. But all I pushed myself into was a bunch of coats and coat hangers. I was so confused. I wasn't going to question my sanity though. I definitely saw that woman and I knew it. It wasn't the kind of thing you would just so vividly imagine. I went back to the middle floor and screamed very loud that whoever was in the house needs to get the F out. I actually screamed so loud that our next door neighbor came over and asked if I was okay.
Banging?
I told him that I literally just saw a woman at our upstairs window watching me play basketball. He came in and helped me search again. When we couldn't find her, I was left to assume that she snuck out through the back door, which I did unlock after all when I went to grab the basketball from the yard. So my neighbor left. I locked all the doors, called my parents, and told them the crazy story.
Yo, Mumsy, there's some keys in my room!
They weren't too thrilled, but they asked me to make sure nothing was stolen. I did just that, and luckily it seemed anything that was worth something was still in place.
I've recorded this video like 3 times already today.
Fast forward to that night.
Yeah, my third attempt.
I went to sleep after checking the house one more time just for peace of mind.
I'll explain why in a minute.
It was hard to fall asleep though. My mind was racing for obvious reasons. Most people can't relate to seeing a stranger at their window inside of their house. But my restlessness helped me out in this situation, and here's why. I was finally starting to drift away slightly. Then I heard some noises from the other side of me. I had the fan on above me, so the room wasn't dead silent, and that's why I didn't immediately turn to my other side at the first sound I heard. But the sound started to sound human-like. I turned to my other side, and there she was, getting out from under my bed. She stood up tall above the bed, and I screamed so loud, louder than earlier before. I jumped out of my bed and tackled her to the floor and had my hand around her throat, asking her who she was. My doorbell rang, my neighbor again. I picked the tall, dirty-looking woman up off the floor and dragged her to the front door with me as she struggled and scratched at me. I still have 2 scars on my right arm from her claws. I opened my front door to my neighbor again, and he let himself in and helped me restrain the woman. This was when I called the police. The whole time we waited for the police, the woman was screaming and cursing at my neighbor and I, threatening us too. The best way to put it, she looked and acted like a meth head currently suffering from withdrawals. When the police arrived, one of the officers knew exactly who the woman was.
Of course they do.
They had dealt with her multiple times before.
Of course they have.
Her name was conveniently Karen. It was satisfying to watch her be brought into the back of the police car. I let my neighbor know how grateful I was for him coming so quickly to help. And that night, my mind continued to race. But instead of being completely freaked out, which I still was a little, I felt this overwhelming feeling of satisfaction. And I can't fully explain why.
Oh, let's go. But yeah, that's going to be the end of this reaction video here. But yeah, this video was a bit different to make. Because obviously I'm doing this on screen record. That's what I'm going to do all these Mr. Nightmare videos on. Because I basically record the video that I'm reacting to or game I'm playing beforehand, and then I do the voiceover. That's kind of how these videos have gone. How I make my videos. But with this one, there's no editing apart from me adding the intro and outro to it. But apart from that, that's it. And what else was I want to say? I swear I wanted to say something earlier. It was like around here that I needed to mention something. Why was it?
And helped me search again. When we couldn't find her, I was left to assume that she snuck out through the back door with...
Can't remember. But hey, yeah, the reason why I'm doing this on screen record, because obviously, when you're doing voiceover for something, you can't usually hear the thing you're voicing over. You can't usually hear it until after you've done it, so... With these videos, because there's only images, I can't hear what he's saying otherwise. Because say with an animation or something, with the Sonic EXE stuff, and when I play a Sonic EXE game, I could usually hear what he's saying. I could usually see what's going on. Yeah, plus I've recorded the game prior anyway, but yeah, you get the picture. But yeah, that's going to be the end of this video here. Spin dash the like button, subscribe to the channel so you won't miss any more videos from me. There's going to be plenty more Mr. Nightmare videos coming out soon. My next video will actually be a Mr. Nightmare video, so yeah, I don't know when that'll be, but you just have to tune back whenever to watch that. But for now, thanks for watching my Way Past Brew Crew, and I'll see you next time. Bye! If you wanna